So let's take this moment together to direct our attention to presence. The presence of the being that you are, beyond all images of who you are, beyond all concepts of who you are, and conditioning, beyond conditioning. The unconditioned self that's present throughout and all around you and each of us. That's how we join together. No matter how far apart we are in space or even time, we can experience the union that we have as souls, so that as the true nature of our being is never separate. Now, even those things that I just said, simple idea or direction to direct your attention to the presence of the true nature of yourself, involves a certain amount of belief. Maybe belief based on experience, or belief based on faith, or a belief that someone else has shared and that you kind of are adopting, that there is such a thing as a true nature of yourself other than the concepts that we have of ourselves. So we want to look a little bit more deeply at the nature of beliefs, but to do so from a perspective of meditation is to, in effect, focus our attention on something other than our beliefs, something other than even thoughts. So we ordinarily begin our meditations by focusing attention on the breath. And that's a good thing to do. That's a really wonderful practice that can open us to an experience that's a little different than the experience we have when we're more in our thinking mind. So let's do that together. Let's focus our attention now on the inhaling and exhaling of breath, and feel the shift in your consciousness as you do that. As you focus your attention on your breathing, the inhaling, the exhaling, as it's occurring in your body, the feeling of the air coming in through your nostrils, we're doing that, in a way we're trusting that somehow doing that, focusing attention on your breath, focusing attention on the feeling, the sensations of breathing, will accomplish something. It will help us to shift our consciousness. So we explore that, we experiment with that. And the only way we can actually experiment with it is to do the technique, do the practice, and then experience what we experience, be aware of what we're experiencing. And I can be fairly sure that when you focus your attention on your breathing, you'll be aware of your breathing in a way that you weren't before you focused your attention there. And you'll be aware of your breathing because of sensory feedback that's coming to you. Sensations of tingling at your nose, maybe cool or warm. Movements of your chest, of your belly. There's nothing metaphysical or mystical or profound about doing that, doing this practice of focusing attention on breathing. But as you become aware, as you allow more of the awareness that is that part of your consciousness to be those sensations, you're less involved with your thinking mind. And that results in a kind of a shift in consciousness. That, in other words, it feels different. You begin to feel different. Now, I can also be fairly confident that there are still thoughts happening inside your mind. And so the next step, you could say, is to become more comfortable with the fact that the thinking mind continues to do what it does, generate thoughts, just as your heart continues to beat, just as your digestive system tends to continue to digest the last meal or food that you ate. And you don't have to engage with those thoughts, just as you don't have to particularly pay attention to or think about your heart beating or your stomach digesting food. You might imagine that your mind is like a vast open sky, and that the thoughts are like birds that happen to be flying through. Some people like to use the metaphor of clouds. Something is just passing through the spaciousness of mind. And you could pay a lot of attention to one or another of those birds, or even fly off with it, go on a street, a trip, a fantasy or a dream-like pattern of thought, Or you could just let it go, let it pass through. And as less of your attention, and I say less because it's very challenging and may be impossible to get down to zero, but as less of your attention is with the thinking and more is with the sensory feeling in this moment of your breath. And as I said in the very beginning, presence. The feeling, the sense of presence. Even the knowing of presence, which doesn't have to be like thinking about it, analyzing it, conceptualizing it. Just a kind of knowing that, in fact, someone, the true nature of the one that you are, or the higher self, or your soul, or if you prefer, spirit, divine presence, is here now, all around and all throughout your body and your mind. We find that the tendency to fix on a thought, that is, really engage with it, think it, in other words, seems to be a difference between a thought happening, passing through the space of your mind, and as I'm talking about it now, thinking that thought. See if that makes some sense to you. And I really mean sense because let it go. Let the thoughts that I'm sharing and come to you, and then let them go. Let them pass through and keep coming back to your breath, the sense of presence, and the sensory feelings that are happening right in this moment. Now, as you know, in the traditions that I work with and often teach, the higher self or inner being that you are expresses through energy. And, and that energy can be sometimes seen or heard as a vibration or as light, inner light, spiritual light. And so that light can be very helpful in clearing the mind, so to speak, just like when the sun comes out and the clouds or fog start to dissipate. Something about the warmth or heat or energy of the sun, of your inner light in this case, clears the fog of mind. And that fog is in some ways another metaphor, of course, and it can seem like the chattering of the mind, the endless exchange of words that we have with ourselves and between ourselves and imaginary others. Even when we are sitting still with nobody there. And it seems as though since we're so drawn to thinking, to thoughts, thoughts about things that form beliefs. We become very attached to the beliefs that crystallize in our mind, that kind of land, the birds that land in the nest of the tree of our mind and have a home there. And they become our beliefs. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with beliefs. I have lots of beliefs myself, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having those. What happens in meditation, however, is that I let them go. I don't have to think about them. I don't have to think them. Even the ones that are helpful to meditate, like, oh, if I think of light, that seems to clear my mind. So, okay, that's a belief. But what if I let the belief go and I just allow myself to experience what I experience when I open myself to that inner light? And I think most of you know that one of the sources of that inner light is located above the top of your head, and there are other sources inside the body along a central column. So there's a thought there, a belief there, and yet the true explorer is open to examining what happens if I really direct my attention to that point above my head where I think there's some kind of light, or somebody says, Alan's saying there's a light there. What if I really just go for it, experiment, not believe it, not disbelieve it, just be open? What happens then if I'm really just exploring experience rather than trying to control what happens or out of some belief system? So I direct my attention to that point above the head and open to what do I experience there? Is there some light there? Is there some energy there? Does it have any effect on me when I direct my attention to that? When I open myself to presence in that way? So just take a moment, explore it yourself. And you'll find what you find. You may feel some sense of tingle, you may feel some sense of energy, you may feel a little more relaxed, or maybe it doesn't seem like anything in particular is happening. But if something is, and somebody were to say, boy, I don't believe there's any kind of light star above your head, that's silly, all there is your body, and that goes only as far as the surface of your skin and maybe your hair. Can't be part of you above 6 inches above your head. If somebody said that, it doesn't have to bother you. Somebody disbelieves what you experience or believe to be true. So a true explorer, I think, is less rigid about the beliefs that they do begin to adopt, because they're only exploring what's real, what's happening here, And you can invite other people to explore it, but if they're not open to it because their beliefs are so strong that there can't be anything like that, then there's no point. No point arguing, no point pushing anything. It's okay. My sense is that reason people have such intense arguments about religious beliefs is because they're really not experiencing what their beliefs tell them they're supposed to be experiencing. So beliefs soften in that sense by having moments where you're completely letting go of all beliefs, letting it go in the sense that we're doing right now, just not engaging them, not analyzing, not troubling ourselves with thoughts, and just exploring experience of a practice. And seeing what it brings, seeing what you yourself experience, and out of experience comes beliefs. And again, experiences can change over time, and beliefs can change over time. So even the beliefs we form from our direct experiences can be soft. They can be open. Many of you have seen the messages I've sent about braver angels, I think, and how people are working to have people with radically different political beliefs, cultural and political beliefs, talk to each other without hating each other and even being angry at each other necessarily, even though their beliefs are different. It's a very challenging thing to do because, again, people become very attached to their beliefs. And so when somebody contradicts that belief, it feels like they're contradicting them. They're who they are. They're attacking who they are. Meditative practice helps us see we are not our thoughts. We are not our beliefs. Deep meditation can take you to a place where you realize you're not your body. Again, that's could be a belief that you would then temporarily, openly examine and hold if it seems true to you. To be open to even the question of what am I? Who am I? Not being certain. Not being fixed. Not clinging to it. This is who I am. This is what I am. Something like that. So remember that you can breathe consciously into your heart chamber. That helps too, because it's more in the head that the fixed thinking, the fixed beliefs, the concretized beliefs tend to form. And if the heart is open, it helps to soften that, helps to dissolve that intense rigidity. And if you breathe into your belly too, it tends to bring about a quality of humility about ourselves and about the things that we believe, the things that we think. A lot of times in deep exploration of breathing into the belly, people get in touch with fear. People get in touch with the fears that are held down, fears that we're not really certain about anything. But by continuing the process of accepting even the fear, accepting the tension, accepting the tightness, letting it be, gradually it's okay that we're not certain. It's okay that in this moment you're simply here. You're here where you are, here, and we're all now. We're all now. We're all in this now together. Along with all the others who are also exploring, seeking the truth of who they are without grasping and clinging to some concept of who they are, what they are, what's real, what's not real. So just take this moment between the thoughts, the space, the comforting presence of light and beingness. I'll take this moment to share a belief that I have, and you don't have to believe it. You could explore it though. I believe there are angels. I believe there are beings that are with us that don't even have physical bodies and aren't conditioned like to be afraid. And I believe that when we open ourselves even to the possibility of that, there tends to be some kind of a feeling, some kind of a sensation. And I would encourage you to explore that and see if you have that feeling and trust it. And I believe you are that yourself. And I am. And each of us is in our deeper nature what could be called an angelic being, a being that's unconditioned, unafraid, and a being of light. And it's all of these practices and meditations aim to help us as conditions beings to open to that, to be more aware of that and live with that awareness, express ourselves with that awareness. So my heart is open now, and I thank you again for being with me, being with us, each other, and I look forward to seeing you again. Blessings and namaste.